Right, let's go. One more about South Africa and the absolute absurdity of it all. And then you sort of start wondering why people have got no jobs. Because the ANC is the cork that is holding economic growth back with their absolute insane laws. And who is suffering? Blacks and whites. Right, let's get into it. Yeah. Okay, this young man, he's been actually targeted by his own people. They think he happens to be a traitor because he's telling what is really going on in South Africa. Radio. Let's start.
South Africa looked at Elon Musk, the man who owns a social media platform, builds rockets, sends satellites into orbit, has more money than most countries, and has the direct ear of the President of the United States of America, and said, "We know how to handle this situation." What was their plan, you ask? Pretend a black guy runs his company. Essentially, a way of bribing Elon Musk. That was their plan. That was the full plan. I'm not even joking. No backup plan, just that one plan, the master plan. And before we get into this nonsensical plan, I just need to remind you that before we go further, the videos I make, as you know, don't get any sponsors for obvious reasons. Why? My content is seen as it's too real, too unfiltered, right?
Yeah.
And no corporate company likes content creators that say whatever they want. They want safer content creators, wink wink, safer, right? Ones that they love to shove money up their backsides, and ones they'd love to control. And they can't control me because I don't tell you a comfortable version of the truth. I tell you the truth as it is, which is a problem for sponsors because they don't really want to put money and put their reputation on the line for someone like me to say the things I say. So if this channel means something to you, buy me a coffee.
Yeah.
The link's in the description below. Your donations are really loved. The link is right there in the description below. I love
Nice,
you all.
young
Thank you
man.
so much for your donations. They actually help me more than you think. And I mean that genuinely. And to everyone who's already donated, I see you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You keep this movement alive. Okay, I'm one of the only content creators on YouTube who do what I do. Now, let's discuss what happened in spectacular detail. Elon Musk.
Okay, I just actually want to explain this whole thing. BBEE nonsense. You've got a company. You come to South Africa to actually build up the country, to actually offer jobs to the people here. The ANC say, yes, you can, but only if you actually put a black person in a very high job that they can't do, and also you have to give 30% of the company to the ANC, and this so-called black person supposedly working there, who knows nothing about the company, what they do, nothing. It's sold as it's actually empowering black people. In fact, it only empowers 100 black families that are all related to each other. So if, let's say the father's Ramaphosa, then his daughter gets married to somebody, then that guy gets the job. So it's kept in that in that family pond pool thing, and they have stolen billions this way. And the blacks are getting poorer and the whites are getting poorer. Right, let's go.
Is a South African billionaire. He was born in Pretoria. The man is a born South African. He's got South African blood. He's African. He's the descendant of the settlers who came to South Africa from Europe hundreds and hundreds of years ago. His first language could have been Afrikaans. He probably ate koeksisters as a child and walked around barefoot. He grew up here. This is his country of birth. And when his company, Starlink, a satellite internet service that has connected rural schools, hospitals, and remote communities across 17 other African countries, tried to get an operating license in South Africa, the government said no to their very own person. Even though there's many illegal foreigners who effortlessly run their own illegal businesses here, South Africa said no to someone who was born in their country, South African. Not because of fraud. Elon Musk didn't do any fraud that we know of. Not because of safety. Not because of any technical failure, no pun intended, because he owns Tesla and SpaceX. But because of BEE. South Africa's broad-based black economic empowerment policies require telecommunication companies to have at least 30% ownership by groups historically disadvantaged under apartheid.
And this is the thing. They want to keep the people, meaning the voters, ignorant. You will not find many black people watching me, for instance, because I happen to be white. Even, him, he's got, what I've seen by the names, most seem to be white people watching him. I might be wrong, but that is what I've seen. And this rubbish and rot needs to be totally unpacked, exposed.
You want to learn more about this, you must go to bellaalert.com, and then you go to their profile section, and then you'll see why Elon was exactly rejected from South Africa. But I think I've explained it good. So 30%, Elon Musk must hand over 30% of his company, the company that he sweat and sacrificed for. He must hand over 30% of it, just like that, to random black businessmen so that he can comply. Now, Elon Musk said, reasonably enough, how about this instead? Starlink offered to invest 500 million rand to help connect 5,000 random rural schools in South Africa to free, fast internet, supported by solar power, software, and long-term monitoring. And that was an actual offer he made to them. 500 million rands to help these schools, right? So instead of me giving 30% of my company, let me just do that so that I can comply, right, quote unquote, for 5,000 rural schools, free internet, free.
And I promise you, if this had to have happened within a week, every single solar panel would have been smashed or taken without fail.
In communities, BEE was literally designed to help. So Elon Musk showed his cleverness here. He said, I don't have to give 30% of my company to comply to BEE. I can help 5,000 schools with mostly black children With free internet, I can give those schools free internet. 5,000 of those schools, I can give them free internet so that I can comply and have my company in South Africa. And if you ask me personally as Summer Sambet, I can go even further to say that actually sounds a lot better than giving 30% of your company to random black people.
Of course.
And South Africa said no. Let that sentence sit there for a moment like an awkward guest at a braai who just came and ate all the meat and chakalaka. The country that desperately needs internet connectivity in rural areas, that has children sitting in schools with no internet access who cross rivers and flood sites to get to school, that has been fighting the digital divide for decades, that country that's struggling the way it is, said no thanks to free internet for 5,000 schools.
For us to actually download stuff takes ages. It's actually pathetic. And I've got a feeling that one day we're going to have nothing here. Not even that.
Because the paperwork was not filled in the right color and Elon Musk just happens to have the wrong skin pigmentation. And this is where the story moves from unfortunate to genuinely cinematic. Someone in the South African bureaucratic system had what they believed was a brilliant idea to combat all of this, what they saw as a problem. Elon Musk says he was offered many times the opportunity to bribe his way to a license by pretending that a black guy runs Starlink SA. Many, many times. So not once, not twice, many times. They kept coming back like a very persistent, very confused door-to-door salesman who does not understand why the customer keeps saying no. You know, like when you're walking in the mall and then those people chase you so that because they want to like sell you a gym membership or an insurance. Yes, that's the energy they brought into the room when they were trying to get this man to bribe them. Let us think about this for exactly 1 second. These officials sat in a room, presumably in a government building funded by your taxes, and they looked at each other, and one of them said, guys, you know what, ne? What if we just find a black gentleman, we put him in front, take a few photos, sign some papers, give Elon Musk his license, and then everyone gets happy after he buys us our cool drinks. And nobody in that room stood up and said, wait, we're going to try and fool the richest human being in the history of recorded modern human civilization with the fake employee.
And this is what absolutely astounds me. They keep on speaking about white people, that they're going to fix up the anti-history, the past. But they are destroying the country. There is going to be nothing left except a pile of bones. And they cannot see it.
Nobody said that. They just kept going and said, bravo, what a genius. What a genius. Not Stephen Hawking should have got that tribute. It should have been you. Musk said he refused to do so on principle, stating that, I quote, and I'm trying my best to mimic Elon Musk here, racism should not be rewarded, no matter to which race it is applied. Shame on the racist politicians in South Africa. Close quote. That's what he said. He said, shame on the racist politicians in South Africa. So he's not the only South African who thinks South African politicians have an element of racism in them, because they always turn to race politics when it matters the most. Yeah. The man who could theoretically buy South Africa if the exchange rate was right said no to your bribe on principle, because even the richest man on earth has more dignity than to pretend a different person runs his company just to satisfy a racial checklist. Yeah. I need you guys to understand this. This is an individual who has the most money recorded on earth. There are other individuals who are just as rich, maybe even richer than he is, but recorded wise, on paper, he is the richest individual on earth. If South Africa was at the right exchange rate, he could have bought this country. They were trying to fool that guy. By the way, if you don't know what the South African government was trying to do with this whole bribe situation, it's what you call fronting. It is illegal under South African law, by the way, a law they imposed, the very law designed to prevent exactly this kind of corruption, is the same law that the government's own people were suggesting Musk should break. The irony is so thick, you could serve it at a state banquet. And now let us talk about what this actually is. Because behind all the comedy, and it is genuinely historically funny, there is something very serious here that deserves to be named clearly. BEE, as currently implemented, is not transformation. Real transformation would be building black entrepreneurs from the ground up, funding black-owned startups, create genuine economic pipelines for black South Africans to enter industries with real skills and real ownership. What fronting is so what this Starlink situation exposed is the rotten core of how BEE actually operates in practice. You don't need a black person to own something. All you need to do as someone who owns a company is, if you want to operate in South Africa and you want to invest in South Africa, all you need to do is buy one of the politicians a quick cool drink, then get a black person to appear to own something, whereas it's actually you in the background. So when it's time for the paperwork, for the boxes to get ticked, for everyone's compliance score to look good, the black person must step up. And then the actual South African holding the pen, which is you, the actual black South African who you're fronting gets very little while the deal goes through you. So it enriches a select few. It creates a compliance industry.
And that is what is happening. The average black South African in the old South Africa was 10 times richer than now. And I don't know. I'm just exhausted from all this. They've got no concept of right or wrong. All they care about is themselves and their family members and their son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws and that. And this is what I'm afraid that the young blacks will not understand, because they have been so brainwashed into thinking apartheid was so terrible.
Tells foreign investors, one of whom is literally the most famous and powerful businessman on the planet, that South Africa is a place where all you got to do is play a racial game or you leave. Billionaire, another South African-born billionaire, Rob Hersov, said BEE stands for Black Elite Empowerment. Because the only thing BEE has benefited over the years are the black elites. It's not helped a single black South African. So now, Elon Musk left. He left South Africa a long time ago. And now he is using his influence at the highest levels of American government to push for sanctions against South Africa. Many South Africans believe President Donald Trump's decision to cut funding to South Africa is influenced by Musk's position. That's what they believe. So the scoreboard right now reads this. Hold on, I'm going to give you the scoreboard. You're going to want to hear this. South Africa, 0 Starlink licenses, no free internet for us. Just think about it. Free fast internet, they said no to that. And then 5,000 schools still without internet. The US's funding is cut. Diplomatic relationships are damaged even more. And the man who was born here is now arguably the most influential advocate for international sanctions against the country he was born in. You know your country is screwed when you have to start calling for their sanctions. Imagine you were born in put yourself in Elon Musk's shoes. You were born here in Pretoria. You went to school here. And then you left, got to be a successful business person. Now you want to come back and help home. And home is saying, no, get out of here. And now you're calling for the sanctions of your own home because you're beefing with your own people. All because someone in a government office from the country you're from thought they could trick you with the fake employee. Meanwhile, Starlink has already lit up on connectivity maps across Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Eswatini, all neighboring countries, while South Africa remains one of the few major dead zones on the continent for the network.
Honestly, this is beyond shocking. And I don't know when South African people are going to realize that the ANC, Julius Malema, I'm telling you, MK party do not care about their own people. It's just like it's been carrying on since 1994. Yeah.
Zimbabwe has Starlink, and look how much they fell off, but they still have free fast internet. South Africa doesn't have Starlink. I'm gonna let that live rent-free in your brain. The children in rural KwaZulu-Natal who could have had satellite internet, the children who are starving to death in the Eastern Cape,
education
could have been studying on their tablets given by Starlink. Because if you provide free internet, the kids need something to use that internet. So obviously common sense tells you there would have been some form of technology also supplied.
Of course.
They could have been connected to all of that, but now they're still relying on what they call books. Right? They still, by the way, what they call books is not actually books. It's like pieces of ripped paper they could barely afford, and they need to write on that. Are you kidding? There are some game reserves, some poaching, like there's some anti-poaching surveillance cameras in game reserves that are operating Starlink illegally because someone just plugged it in anyway because it works. That's literally how Starlink works. And Pretoria said no, because the paperwork said the wrong thing about who owns it. South Africa has 140 race-based laws. It went to the International Court of Justice to lecture the world about human rights. It sits on the United Nations Human Rights Council, and it tried to bribe the richest man alive with a fake black employee. You genuinely cannot make this up.
And on top of it, these kids are going to be so left behind with AI, everything. They are going to be so far behind. Yeah. And really, it's heartbreaking. It makes me so upset that what kind of future are these children going to have? They will just be useful cogs and just repeat history. It's the white man's fault.
Thanks for watching this video. My name is The Summer.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the next one. Basically on the same topic. Yeah. And that I am really lost for words that we have got such totally incompetent leaders in South Africa. And their Marxist, socialist, communist mindset will rather destroy the country and the people who vote for them. Take it forward, but right there.
So this video is going to focus on Vincent Magwenya, who is the spokesperson of the president in government. And just based on the things that he has said over the last few months, it already is very clear that there's a massive disconnect between the presidency and the rest of South Africa and the rest of the world. Now, Elon
So
Musk
true.
came out and said that it is nearly impossible for him to do business in South Africa because of the race-based laws in this country and the fact that he has to give a massive chunk of his company away to a black individual just to tick a box. Now, you would think that the president and his spokesperson would maybe just say, okay, hold on, let's take a second and let's see if we can reach out directly and see if we can resolve this with Elon Musk. But
Not a
instead,
chance.
Vincent Ngwenya just went absolutely ballistic and not even thinking about the consequences of what a post like that could have. Now, I'm going to show you this post, but before I do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. It's free and it won't cost you anything, and you can do that by clicking the subscribe button below. It'll be greatly appreciated. All right. Also, before I get into showing you what Vincent Ngwenya said, it's important to note that Elon Musk is the wealthiest person in the world. Doesn't mean he automatically deserves respect. But when you live in a country where there are massive issues specifically to unemployment and access to basic things like the internet in rural communities, that you would be more open and at least a little bit more professional when dealing with somebody like Elon Musk, considering that if you piss him off, he's got many other billionaire friends with massive international companies that he could perhaps influence to also not invest in South Africa, where they would have invested in South Africa if it wasn't for the president and his spokesperson, and of course the race-based legislation in this country. So this is what Vincent Ngwenya had to say.
Stupidity.
So this is the spokesperson of the president, Vincent Ngwenya, and in response to Elon Musk, he says there are currently 193 member states in the United Nations. Surely there is good money to be made out of 192 markets. It's okay to move on. This is literally the spokesperson of the president that must be speaking on behalf of the president.
Yeah,
Because,
of
I mean,
course.
this is under the gray badge, as you can see next to his name, which means this is the handle for spokesperson of South Africa. So is this the president's stance? Because if it is,
course it
it
is.
is
I
really
think so.
problematic, and I'll tell you why. South Africa currently has a broad definition unemployment rate of 45%, meaning 45% of the people that are able to work in this country can't find a job. When you move that to the youth unemployment rate, that skyrockets up to over 60%,
60, yeah.
meaning over 60% of the youth can't find work in South Africa. And as a response to Elon Musk saying that he wants to bring Starlink to South Africa, which by the way also has a benefit of 500 million rand, because over 5,000 schools in the rural communities will get access to the internet where there currently is none. I find it absurd that the president and his spokesperson are turning their back on somebody that can generate tens of thousands of jobs in this country. We've got a massive problem with unemployment in this country. And instead of trying to deal constructively with the world's wealthiest man that runs 6 successful businesses that can easily put a head office in South Africa and employ tens of thousands of people, instead of trying to do that, instead we've got this Mr. Nobody, Vincent Ngwenya, who probably, kissed ass all the way to the top, wants to now be arrogant with somebody that have achieved more in the last year than what Vincent has achieved in his entire life, including his father and his father.
Yeah.
So this arrogance, where does it come from? And who do you think that you are, that you can live in a country with such a high unemployment rate and so much that is wrong in this country when it comes to failing infrastructure, the crime rate, lack of service delivery. And then you're looking at somebody that can improve this country, not for white people, not for black people, not for colored people, Indian people, for all South Africans. And your response is to be arrogant, to say, hey, you don't have to invest in South Africa. Doesn't this go against what the president himself said in his State of the Nation address?
And this is the thing. The ANC, Julius Malema, the MK party, they are holding every single South African person back. They want everybody to have nothing. And this is part of the plan. And then if you have to actually point it out to these young black people who vote for Malema, they will call you racist and all kinds of names. They don't want to wake up.
That South Africa needs to market itself to the rest of the world. Well, you are literally saying no to the world's wealthiest person and somebody that runs the most successful companies on earth. And your response is arrogance. You don't speak on behalf of me. And I'm pretty sure that millions of South Africans feel exactly the same way. At the end of the day, all Elon Musk is saying is, I have created a company where I have launched rockets into space in order to get satellites across the globe, and I have internet access that rural communities can benefit from. Now, of course, it's a business and he wants to make money in this country, but he's already offered 500 million rands worth of infrastructure and thousands of jobs in this country.
And they just want the money. That's all the so-called government leaders want, is the money. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. Yeah.
And the only thing that he's saying is, please remove the requirements that according to me is racist. And I think any reasonable person that looks at that goes, that's racist. Because I dealt with this in my video yesterday. We are 32 years into our democracy, and yet we still have 142 laws that discriminate against people based on the color of their skin. A child born in 2008 will be turning 18 this year. So why is that 18-year-old being discriminated against if he was born literally 14 years after the end of apartheid? But in response to that, the president and his spokesperson deals with that person very arrogantly, saying you don't have to invest here, as if South Africa is this first world nation that's got an unemployment rate of 2 or 3%. It is absurd. But you see, it's exactly this arrogance that has cost the ANC to go from 66% in previous elections to where they are now 39%. But continue down this path. You clearly have not learned your lesson. So Vincent, good luck. Keep it up. You're doing a great job at destroying the ANC from within. So as much as I'm complaining about your arrogance, you're actually doing this country a massive favor.
And this will not be spoken about on mainstream media. They'll just point fingers, Musk is this and Musk is that, but they won't actually tell you why.
So perhaps you should continue down this path. But I just find it insane that these are the people that we have elected to lead this country. But every single year, this country is going into a worse and worse state because of the incompetence and because of the arrogance. So now we've got incompetent, arrogant people that are telling people that are really wealthy, the wealthiest person on earth, that they shouldn't invest in South Africa. God help us all. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Smash the like button. Share this video far.
And this is the circus that is South Africa. And the ANC supports terrorists, communists, and it really feels like some days that we've jumped off some mountain and we are just falling down and we haven't hit the ground yet. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I've got to talk about. All right. Okay. See you next time. Bye.